Okay, we'll bring, please stand for the pledge.
We have our special guest officer, Nick Anderson, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. The clerk will take the roll.
Let's see here. Trustee Pearson.
Here.
Trustee Vance.
Here.
Treasurer Dillard.
Here.
Supervisor Kramer.
Here.
Clerk Reedsman here. All present.
Thank you. Board member conflict of interest statement. I have a conflict of interest because I own a home in the proposed phase 2 sewer district. Anyone else?
No.
Okay, so now I'll start the hearing on the budget. Does anyone want to speak on the budget? Okay. Public hearing is closed. Let's start the public hearing on the commercial rehabilitation district. Step right up.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Whitener. I think most of you probably know me, but for the record, I own Northland Brewing Company, which is business here in downtown. It is a part of the proposed rehabilitation district. I also sit on the DDA and I'm the vice president of the chamber. I have a letter from the chamber here that I think is in your packet.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to read it real quickly and then make a couple more personal comments, I guess. Sorry, I've been racing to get here. Dear Tuscarora Township Board of Trustees, Tuscarora Township Supervisor Bob Kramer recently attended a regular monthly meeting of the Indian River Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and made a presentation on behalf of the Tuscarora Township Board regarding the recently proposed redevelopment district. While we support smart development in Indian River, we have several concerns and questions about the proposed redevelopment district that remain unanswered. In light of the fact that this would be a precedent-setting event in Indian River, we think it would be wise to seek public input. There's been very little information shared on the proposed district and no opportunity to ask questions in a public forum. For these reasons, we cannot at this time support the creation of a redevelopment district. We respectfully request that the Township Board table voting on the redevelopment district until the community has had an opportunity to ask questions in a public forum and provide input on the proposal. On a more personal note, I was a real estate broker for about 25 years, so this is not something that's unfamiliar to me. These redevelopment districts and the associated grants and funding that come along with them can be a huge incentive to developers, but they need to be directed in the right way. And what we're seeing here has no direction. So while I think it's a good first step, I would really, really urge the board to hold off until we can develop some criteria. I know that members of the board have told me that that's not possible. I get some conflicting information on that. I think there are ways that it can be done. And at the very least, for the board to make a commitment towards the direction that they want to take this thing in. So I think it could be a really good idea, but I think it needs to be molded into a more focused approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Public comment? Public hearing?
My name is Sally Snyder. I live at 3226 Spruce Street. I was privileged to attend I'm not quite sure what it's called, but an EDC meeting, whatever the new committee of the township is, and heard the discussion, and one of the members of that group said, why would we do the town or the business district-wide district when we have no experience at all and that we don't know what we're doing? And he suggested that if the EDC and the community felt that the North Star project was worthwhile as a trial, why wouldn't we do one district or one business and see how it went, so that when we were writing the various regulations and rules for the future district, that in fact we'd have some experience rather than just people that we talk to. So I agree with what the chamber obviously said. I think we need to slow down. I'm not against development. I'm for community, and I want to know how the development is going to work in the community. I think we've made some fast choices where I'm not sure. Nobody sold me that the current development in some areas is going to be in the best interest of the community. So I would ask the board if they table it, and if they don't want to table it, they vote it down.
Other comment? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Thank you all. Public comment on agenda items, anyone? Okay, public comment is closed. Approval of consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Janet, trustee Vance makes that motion.
I'll support it.
Trustee Pearson seconds. Discussion. It's all pretty self-explanatory. One thing I did want to point out in the budget amendments, I know you caught it, but I want to make sure you understand it. Because they did Navinoy before the end of our fiscal year, that has to be billed to this fiscal year. So when we do get a bill, it's going to go into that pot, and that's why I made that adjustment. And we won't get the majority of that money back until December taxes. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And now I'll ask Chief Temple to come up for a special presentation.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be able to hand out this award tonight. Police officers, we get called in and assist in all sorts of medical calls. It's usually a joint effort. Part of our job is to help preserve and save life. Most of the time, we have paramedics there, and that person is loaded up into an ambulance, hauled away. We don't really know what happens after that. This particular incident on May 22nd, by one of my officers, and I'm just going to read this. It kind of gives you a background. Officer Anderson was dispatched to Hillside Drive at 12:02 p.m. for a man who has cut his arm with a chainsaw. The man was an employee for View Tree Service and was in a bucket truck using a pole chainsaw, which is a chainsaw on the very end of the pole. The man dropped the saw and it came back and struck his arm, almost severing his arm. Officer Anderson met the man at the Township Green Docks and immediately recognized the man was going to bleed out. Officer Anderson quickly applied a tourniquet and used his quick clot, which is something that the officers usually carry in their vest in case they have to give themselves sulfate. The man's arm was still bleeding profusely, so Officer Anderson applied a second tourniquet to help control the bleeding. Sheboygan Life Support arrived on scene and immediately transported the man to McLaren Hospital, where he was taken into emergency surgery. Later that afternoon, McLaren Hospital called, advised me that Officer Anderson had applied 2 tourniquets and they were applied properly, and that his actions probably saved the man's life. They further advised that they believe that they will be able to save the man's arm, which was fantastic. So Officer Anderson's life-saving action on May 22nd, 2024 deserves to be recognized by our department and our community that we serve. Officer Anderson? It is an honor and a privilege to give you your life-saving pin. I want to thank you for your service to our community and a job well done on May 22nd. It's an honor.
Thank you. My girls, they came, my wife, my mom, and yeah, thank everybody.
Thank you.
Since I'm already up here, if you don't mind, there's going to be a few changes to our 4th of July fireworks. Those of you who were here earlier, it's the same steel. We're expecting a very large show this year, so we are doing a few things different during the 4th of July. The DeVoe Beach parking lot is going to be closed to vehicle traffic after 3 p.m. Unless you have a handicap permit, we are going to allow the south side of the parking lot to be handicap accessible only. We've had several complaints over the years with handicapped people. Those spots fill up because there's only 3 or 4 handicap spots down there to begin with. And we're going to try and rectify that this year. Also, the Indian River has to be closed 15 minutes after the grand finale. That's a cool down period for the fireworks. We've had problems in the past couple of years where everybody just rushes to the mouth of that river. So we're going to have some signage out there. We're trying to get the information out. We have to wait 15 minutes after the grand finale to allow boats to go back up the river. Last year we had major issues with parking. We're going to be hitting that pretty hard this year. So be very conscientious as to where you're parking. If you're parked in no parking zone, your vehicle's probably going to be towed away. Reason being for that is we have to keep DeVoe Beach, a path all the way down to DeVoe Beach, wide open where large fire trucks and ambulances can get in and get out in case of an emergency. Other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Judge, welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Sure, I like to come around, try to do it once a year to give you an update on what's going on with your circuit courts. So of course, I'm your circuit judge in Sheboygan County and also covers Presqu'île. And I just want to touch on 4 quick things and answer any questions that the board might have. One is we made some big changes to our friend of the court office in the last year. We have a new friend of the court referee. The referee that we had for a number of years retired. So we brought aboard a guy, his name is, how about this for a referee, a lawyer named Kyle Legal. That's a good name for a lawyer, right? He's out of Gaylord and he services several northern Michigan counties. So we have a contract with him. He comes 2 days per month and he does hearings on child support enforcement and child custody and parenting time disputes. And that helps people resolve those without getting on the court docket, which might take a little longer to get to. Now, anybody who doesn't like what happens in the referee can go in front of the judge, but we're not seeing that happen a lot. I think that's because our referee is treating people fairly and they don't feel like they get in better shape in front of the judge, you know, so they just go with what happened there. We also have a new director of our friend of the court office, Kyle Ortiz. He's an Indian River guy, and he was practicing law and family law primarily out of Wisconsin. And we stole him back, and he's doing a great job. He's been there a little less than a year, but he's doing a great job bringing some good energy into that office. And we made some major changes to our parenting time schedule. And this is, you know, when parents can't agree, we kind of have a standard schedule for exchanging the kid. Well, we were hearing from families and from lawyers that we weren't taking into account things like child development. And a 13-month-old needs to see both parents more frequently than, say, a 13-year-old. And we were treating them all the same. And so we've got now the ages of the children matter in terms of the exchange. And also we have different schedules based on how close the parents live to one another and how frequently they have to call the police when they're exchanging. So if they live within a half an hour and they don't have to call the police when they're trading the children, we're going to have them exchange a lot. So we're hearing good things from the families that we've implemented these for, that it helps them co-parent better. And also then our case filings. Usually we would get about 175 to 180 new felony cases a year in Sheboygan County. A couple years ago, we hit like 210, which was a record high. We looked back 10 years and we couldn't find any that had more than that. Well, the last 2 years, we've had about 250. So there's been a really big increase in the felony cases in Sheboygan County. Coupled with, we were trying to dig ourselves out of that hole that COVID caused, jury trials. Well, the good news is we're well out of that hole, but we're just busier than we ever were. So we still have a little bit of a delay in giving people a jury trial dates if they want. But we're only about 6 months behind if somebody wants a jury trial. We'd like to get better than that, but we're making some significant progress there. But we are still seeing an increase in the felony files. Some of that is the continuing scourge of methamphetamine in our community. We're seeing almost 80% of our drug cases are methamphetamine. But also, you know, we're fortunate enough to have a very active and competent law enforcement, different agencies in our county, and a competent and active prosecutor's office. And so, you know, sometimes it's not a matter of the crimes going uncommitted, it's a matter of them going undetected or unprosecuted. And so we do have a good law enforcement community that is addressing those things. So we expect to see, you know, a fair amount of cases, but we are seeing at historic levels of high. Our recovery court is still going well. This is our drug treatment court program for nonviolent, drug addicted or alcohol offenders that are felony cases that would be prison presumptive. So without this program, they'd be going off to prison, costing taxpayers about $64,000 a year and not really solving the problems that got them in trouble. So we have a whole team approach with law enforcement, defense, prosecutor, treatment, probation, court administrators, and we meet as a team and vote on who to take in the program and how to work with them, and we get involved with them on a daily basis for 2 years. We made a lot of changes to how we work with those individuals. We no longer kick them out for failing, say, a certain number of drug tests. Because if they're in a program like this, it's because they're having a problem not using drugs or alcohol. So we're not going to kick somebody out of a drug treatment court because they're struggling with using drugs. As long as they are still trying, they're still being honest with us, and they're still showing up and attending their treatment sessions and court sessions, we'll keep working. So we're trying to graduate more of those folks. When they don't graduate, when we do have to remove them, then more often than not, they do go off to prison. Sometimes they can stay local to the county, but not very often. But so it's still really the flagship of our court, and it reduces recidivism like 75% from people that are not in that program. So it's cheaper than sending them off to prison, and it gets us better results in the long run. Very few drug cases are gonna result in, say, a 20-year prison sentence, right? And they should. So they're gonna result in a 2-year prison sentence. And then 2 years later, the person will be back, and they're still gonna go right back home, and they're still gonna be right back in the problem. So if we can spend 2 years really engaged with them and help them turn that corner, we're all gonna be better off, not just that offender, but the whole community. So, and our program coordinator, her name is Nicole Pulowski, and the state of Michigan gives out these Hero of Treatment Court Awards. They give out 5 per year for the whole state, and last year she got one of those Hero Awards, because she just does a great job dealing with a very difficult population. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was we're continuing our effort at public accountability and transparency for the courts. Part of that is coming around and telling what we're doing. And part of it is still continuing our live stream access to our criminal and civil docket on YouTube. So you can check that out. It's at Judge Aaron J. Gauthier on YouTube. Since we started that at the beginning of COVID, we've had over 1.25 million views of our court hearings. And we've had over 150,000 views this year. And it's not just, counting the clicks, it's educating the public about things in the courts. And if you do watch, you probably noticed we changed the video feed this year. We finally got inside the box and we're able to hack some of the camera feeds so that now you get a better experience of viewing what's going on in the court. We're still working on some enhancements for that. But what that let us do is no longer show the jury box. So now we have actually been able to stream a couple jury trials. We're not going to stream, say, a child molestation trial. That would just be too invasive for that young victim. But, we've been able to stream, I think, an animal cruelty trial. The animals didn't mind so much. And resisting or fleeing from the police. So we put those things on. So we'll identify appropriate. Now, if you show up for jury selection, we don't put the jury selection. So your faces, your names will not be out there if you show up for jury duty. We'll protect our jurors. But once we get the jury all situated in the box, then we turn the camera on for the trial itself. And I was able in the last year to chair a work group for the whole state of Michigan, for the Michigan Judicial Council, on public access and transparency. And we had about 30 judges and other stakeholders from around the state. We made a report. You can check it out online at the Michigan Judicial Council website. And we made a report to the Supreme Court recommending a court rule to encourage other courts to live stream and give them some guidelines on how to do it responsibly. So we're really hoping that the Supreme Court will take some action on that. And last year we brought the Michigan Supreme Court to Sheboygan County. They heard a case at the Sheboygan Opera House, and we bussed in students from around the county so that they could see what the highest court in Michigan was up to. So that was again part of our just public outreach efforts. So it's real important to me to engage with the community so that they know what's going on with the courts. A lot of times the court seems to be the most mysterious of the branches of government. We want to take away as much of that mystery as we can and get ideas from people. If you are using our courts or your constituents are and you're hearing, obviously on the outcome of cases, there's always somebody who's going to be unhappy. But if you're hearing things about the process where there's something that's not going smoothly, I'd always be willing to hear ideas of how you can. Any questions you might have or concerns? Yes, sir.
Judge, I've always been interested in your drug court, and I'm very happy to hear you say that if they slip one time, they're not out. And I think that's fantastic. But what's your success rate, do you think?
Well, the program started in 2008, and I came aboard at the end of 2018. Historically, the program had graduated only about 4 out of 10 folks. My hope would be we could get to about 6 out of 10. Right now, we're graduating about 5 out of 10. So we're still only finding success with half of our participants. If we were graduating more than 6 out of 10, we'd be doing something wrong. Because these are folks that usually have repeat criminal history. The drugs are usually a symptom and not the root problem of what's going on in their lives. Our population has housing insecurity, job insecurity, a lot of times educational challenges or gaps, traumas that they've experienced, mental health challenges, physical health challenges, dental health challenges, family toxic dynamics. They just have a plethora of issues to deal with. And the problems have really taken a hold in their life. So these are folks that can't just go to a couple meetings and get a handle on it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the fix that they're in. So it's a very challenging population. So what we find is the ones that are really committed to it and are doing it for themselves, they're the ones that succeed. The ones that are doing it just to stay out of trouble and try to see if they can get away with, you know, we're all human. They're going to fool us for a while, but they're not going to fool us for 2 years. So it always catches up with them. So that's about where we're at.
Judge, if I'm not mistaken, if you're hitting 50%, that's double the average of, say, an alcohol rehab facility. Isn't that true?
You know, I don't have that data in front of me to know that.
Because I remember over, when I was stationed in Europe, a friend of mine was running the alcohol rehab program, and they were happy with 23%.
Yeah, it's a tough problem.
So you must be doing something right if you're doing almost half.
Well, part of it is working with them longer, and the other is we retooled our sanctions when people violate the rules, and we got to hold them accountable. But we've changed it up where we're not living in jail as the punishment. We're making them go to extra meetings, do extra treatment, do community service out in the community. Sometimes they got to spend a day with me at court, which is not very fun. Sometimes we make them write some papers, or we make them do a whole bunch of other things. And so we kind of reshifted our focus. If the whole reason for the program is that locking up addicts doesn't solve the problem, but we don't want to lock them up for violating the rules either within the program. So we do use jail, but only when we kind of have to. When they force that, and it's not exhaustive. So we've seen some good results from that.
Now, Judge, my last question is, you said your number one issue with the felonies was meth. What about cocaine? I thought that was making a...
Yeah, we are seeing some cocaine cases, for sure, yeah. And we're not seeing a lot of fentanyl cases right now, but I'm hearing from our law enforcement partners that they are seeing more of that coming in our community as well. Methamphetamine still is the number one drug that we're seeing.
And what's your number two felony, if you had to pick one?
That's really tough. I haven't pulled that data, so I would just be guessing. I would say,
I just wanted to guess.
sadly, the cases that take up the longest time on the docket, that we see far too many of every year, is child molestation. That happens much more frequently than people like.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Can you take any questions from the audience?
That's up to you.
Anybody have a question for the judge? Okay, Judge, thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. See you next year.
Yep.
Okay, Commercial Rehabilitation District is next on the agenda. In your packet is some explanation and the NLEA recommended resolution, along with a list of the properties and some information from MEDC. Is there a motion before we start the discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Vance makes the motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll support that.
Support by the treasurer, Janice Dillahay. Discussion. I just have a few comments. We hired a consultant who's been doing a great job for us. She's come in here several times, but we first started talking about this at our December 14th meeting. That was more than 6 months ago. We talked about it again on January 2nd. We talked about it again in a joint DDA meeting where we had a training class. We talked about it in 2 other meetings since then. And just for the record, our Economic Development Citizens Task Force unanimously recommended to this board approval of this action. I do want to tell you that when you talked in regards to criteria, the criteria that really meets the rubber of the road is the MEDC application itself. I mean, I thought some of these government programs were hard to apply for. The MEDC application, I mean, their underwriters, as you can imagine.
No local criteria.
But please don't interrupt. It is extremely high. And when you talk to Boyne City, they have criteria for their industrial, but they don't even recommend that we have criteria for local. I don't know that I agree with that, but they claim in their district downtown, not their industrial district, that everything, every application is different. And some have more needs than others. So what does the community need? What, you know, how much does this person have in funding? But the majority of the due diligence on the financial side, as our instructor told us, is being done by MEDC. If the board wants to have local criteria, she recommended that we do that before we accept applications. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what she's recommending. Is there any other discussion?
Well, yeah, my thoughts on this, as I said before, is that you really need a pilot, because you can't even come up with the criteria without actually trying something out first, rather than create the district across the whole river to river and whatever else the other boundaries are, east to west. And again, I think when I had spoken with the Boyne City, a representative of the Boyne City committees there as well, who said, take it slow. So I think we ought to do it. I'm not afraid to do it, but I think it ought to be a pilot so that you can get the criteria, find out if it's versus industrial versus commercial.
So when we get an application, assuming that we pass this, if we get an application, and assuming the county goes along, if someone submits a full application approved by MEDC, we have 60 days to act. That doesn't mean that just because they apply, they get a tax abatement. It doesn't work that way. Tax abatement is solely at the discretion of the board. They can have 0, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 2 years, 1 year with a renewal period, 5 years with a renewal period. So I think that there's a lot of room, and that MEDC money, they just got some additional funding. But in regards to discussions, this has been going on for 6 months. I went over to the chamber, told them that they could call me and I'd come over and come back and talk to them at any time. And I didn't even get a letter today until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I spoke with them over 2 months ago. So I would say 6 months is plenty of time. That doesn't mean that we're gonna hand out tax abatements, because I know of no one other than North Star that has applied to the MEDC. If we were gonna have local criteria, it would have to be very, very broad and tailored. I know the two other municipalities I got, the criteria was about 3/4 of the page, as I recall. It's in the packet. It's in the packet.
It's in the back.
Oh, it's in the packet. No, I didn't put it in the packet. I apologize.
There's a city of Boyne City in here, for their
Oh, okay.
qualifications.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there it is. And of course,
And city of Charleroi.
as we go down the road, we certainly will, I would advise the board that if we do get an application, that's when we need to bring in the NLEA expert to consult with us and lead us down the path, because they've done this before.
Again, I'll restate that, based on the letter from the chamber, I read that between the lines to simply say they're not interested in creating this district.
Okay.
And we should create a district that gives Jakeway the ability to get his pilot in place and then have people follow what goes on and to say where we go from there.
I just don't want to end up having to do all the paperwork twice. It's $600 every time we send out a bunch of notices.
I understand.
And I just don't see applications rolling in here before any additional applications rolling in here tomorrow. I mean, I haven't had people lined up at my door telling me, hey, tell me how I can get $1.5 million from MEDC. It's a long process. I think it took, what did Mr. Jakeway say? I don't want to misquote him, but been working on that with MEDC for about a year.
Yeah.
Is it about a year? So, this isn't just handing out candy at Halloween.
I will say what I've said before, but until people start rolling their eyes when I say it. Asking the same people who live in this township to continue to pay higher and higher bills to fund the things we want is not sustainable. You can ask the people who are here to pay more, or you can get more people involved so that the cost of running this township can be spread over all of those extra people. This piece of property is not going to be developed without help from outside sources. And, maybe there'll be another program 5 or 6 or 7 years from now that'll help Mr. Jakeway put this in place. Maybe interest rates will come down, maybe. And in that time, the library is giving up money, the police are giving up money, the school district is giving up a large chunk of money. And after they just went through this whole bond thing to get temporary funding to do capital improvements, I think it bears questioning why we are put in a position where if we do this for Mr. Jakeway and we don't do it for other people, we look like we're picking winners and losers. I've watched that. It's painful. Business owners spend lots and lots and lots of their own money for these ideas with the hope that somehow, some way, it's going to have a return. And they will tolerate levels of risk that boggle my mind. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. For us to be the hindrance here just means that property sits undeveloped, not at its highest and best use. I don't know what its highest and best use is. I trust entrepreneurs to make those decisions. I don't want to set a lot of local criteria because I'm not that person. I'm not the person who's gonna figure out the really cool thing that's gonna go in on any of the property that is here to be developed in this township. It's just not how I'm built. I appreciate people who can do that. I think it's a really remarkable talent to have.
I mean,
But for us to put guardrails on this district means that cuts both ways, right? Somebody wants to put something in and, oh, well, we can't have you do that because it's, even though it's a really great idea, we'd love to have it, we wrote criteria that says you can't. The MEDC people have been doing this for a long time. They developed the program. They know how they want to see the money used. I would just as soon defer to their criteria. And, you know, it's not like we're going to put something in that doesn't meet planning and zoning. That's not. And we're certainly not going to give a tax abatement to somebody who's asking to do something that doesn't meet planning and zoning.
And so if somebody wants to put a circus across the street, even if it's zoned, I don't know that you want to do that. Maybe you would, but that would be up to the board at the time.
Right.
Because you do have to have a public hearing. So.
On the meeting that I watched with the
Task force.
yeah, they were in favor of us doing the whole thing at once.
I'm sorry.
They were in favor of us doing the whole thing at once. I'm not quite sure what Sally Snyder is talking about because the meeting that I watched when the gentleman met, she pointed out the same thing, that they should be a pilot program, the North Star. But then after discussion with the businessmen, they said that they thought it was a good idea to go through the whole thing. And I am agreeing with Bob and Jan also that, you know, going through all this paperwork again and all this rigmarole and everything is just a waste of time. And,
I think that's a good point. And I don't want the perception of giving North Star Gardens special treatment
no,
because it can be perceived that way. Well, why didn't you do it for a bigger area? Maybe I wanted to do something with my property. You know, we're here to improve the downtown.
exactly.
Well, I have a couple of comments on that. First of all, we did give ample opportunity for public input on this for months. It's just been on the radar. And we have talked about, we've had meetings with Mr. Jakeway and his representative here, and they gave quite an extensive talk about what the criteria would be for MEDC. MEDC is not going to hand out any money to anybody unless we create a district first. That's the bottom line. They have to have the district before they will move forward. We're just creating an area that people that already have businesses or want to invest in a business can actually apply for loans and grants through the MEDC in that area. And we have taken away one of the hoops that they have to jump through in order to apply for that loan or grant if we create this district. Yes, we can create a smaller district, and then we have to keep creating another district, another district, another district as applications come in. But then if we do it as one large district, we would eliminate those hoops. Another thing is the Sheboygan downtown area would not have been renovated without making it a economic rehab district, because that whole downtown was rehabbed a few years back with MEDC money. And what they did was they created that district, and then those small businesses and large businesses were allowed to apply for money to redo their businesses, expand their businesses, whatever they had to do. Plus they got money to improve the downtown area itself on top of that. And so they saw the value of creating a larger district to create more opportunity for businesses. Just because you create the opportunity doesn't mean everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon. Doesn't mean that the township board, at whatever time those applications come through, is even going to approve that project. They can say, nope, not interested. Nope, not going to approve that, because there has to be township input on that as well. There has to either be a tax abatement, a sewer abatement, other type of amenities that the township invests in that business to make that grant happen for them. And if the township is not willing to do that investment, the grant does not go forward. So creating just the area is not be all and end all, like we're gonna have a flood of all these things, because there's a lot of hoops that each business owner or developer would have to jump through in order to get that loan or grant. We're just creating an area in which they could go ahead and apply if they have a better way to make a mousetrap. And then they could apply for that without having to come to us to create a district to go through all of that. And then you're prejudging their improvement before they even apply for MEDC. If you have to create the district, well, why do you want to create the district? Well, this is what I want to do. Well, maybe I don't want to do that. And so therefore you're prejudging it before you even know that much about it. So I think by doing it from river to river, all you're doing is creating the opportunity for them to go forward with MEDC. Then MEDC comes back and says, what are you guys going to do? What do you feel about this project? You got to vote. The board has the final vote. And so it's not like they're going to eliminate any steps that we would have to go through. So that's just a little background. And I was at that meeting as well when the Economic Task Force said, and one of the people there said, well, what would happen if we just did the one area? And they had a big discussion about that. And then they came back and said, maybe it would be wise to do the whole district and make sure that we included all the business owners just so they can apply or think about what and maybe no one does it, who knows? But at least we have an area that's designated for rehabilitation. So that's my thoughts.
Any other discussion?
No,
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Supervisor Kramer,
Yes.
Clerk Reedsma, no. Trustee Vance,
Yes.
Treasurer Dillahay,
Yes.
Trustee Pearson.
yes,
4-1 passes.
Resolution carries. I'm gonna, because of my possible conflict of interest, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to Trustee Vance to moderate the next two items.
Okay, the next thing on the list is the sewer expansion phase 2 special assessment district resolution. I'm assuming everybody read the resolution in their packet. I'm not going to read it out loud. It's not lawfully required. And it's going to be long enough today as it is. So, do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
I will support it.
Okay.
So who made the motion?
Pearson,
Pearson.
Is there any discussion? No discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
This is for the sewer expansion, phase 2,
Yes.
special assessment
The
district.
special assessment district, yes.
And the motion is to approve the resolution.
The
Yes.
resolution calling for a public hearing on the adjustment.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
That's what I said.
So let's start with Trustee Pearson,
yes,
Treasurer Dillahay,
Yes.
Trustee Vance,
Yes.
Clerk Reedsma, yes. Supervisor Kramer is
Abstain.
abstaining. 4-0, Clara. Passes.
4-0. All right, the second thing on the agenda is sewer expansion phase 2 bids. And Aaron, can I have you get up and explain this for us, please?
Can I give him your mic?
Yeah.
Okay, so similar to phase 1, we had a bid opening for phase 2 that comprised of 2 separate collection system contracts. One is a traditional gravity sewer, and the other is a directionally drilled low-pressure sewer. The wastewater treatment plant part of phase two was already bid as a package with phase one, so that cost was already known. When we received bids, we had the same low bidder, Walton Contracting, for both the gravity and the low-pressure sewer. Their bid for the gravity is $2,918,956. And for the low-pressure sewer is $1,171,815. Both these were very close to the estimate that was out. They're within, let's see, the gravity was under estimate, and the low-pressure sewer is about 5% over estimate. So when we roll this back into the known cost on the phase two wastewater plant, we put it all together with contingency, engineering, legal fees, and administrative costs. The project totals $6.95 million, which you have already loan obligations available to you from USDA and EPA grant in the amount of $3.5 million. So it brings what would be a per customer assessment cost to just under $18,000 at $17,698
For phase two special assessment
for
cost.
phase two special assessment cost. So at the end of the day, both the phase one and the phase two assessments are within $1,000 of each other, which is really great news. I mean, this is one of the goals the township set in 2019, was to try to have these somewhat equalized in the neighborhoods. So I'm very happy with the way this turned out. Walton Contracting doesn't have a lot of history with us. We did do a little further digging on the references and check them out. There's all positive responses. The guys within the organization are more experienced. Walton has been around for about 6 years, but they are from another organization, so they have a lot more experience. They have the resources to do it. They have the bonding capacity. The references were positive. So we are recommending to move forward with the low bid finally. And we prepared the recommendation to the township that would be contingent on all the funding approvals that are required from EPA and USDA.
Any questions for Aaron? Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the awards recommendation.
Let me make the motion, Jen.
Okay,
I wrote something down. Move to approve the award recommendations for the 3 phase 2 bids, all contingent upon funding availability. As just mentioned, gravity contract, Walton Contracting, $2,919,956. Low pressure system contract, Walton Contracting at $1,171,815. And the wastewater treatment plant expansion contract with Grand Traverse Contractors at $1,723,784 phase 2. That becomes the total of, for the wastewater treatment plant, of $4,025,300, and as supported the board packs. That's the motion.
I will support.
I think we should have a voice vote on this, please.
Just a second here. Let's see, Janet Vance,
Yes.
Kim Pearson,
Yes.
Jay Reedsman, yes. Jan Dilley,
Yes.
4-0, 1 abstaining, abstention.
Thank you very much. Bob, it's your show.
Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome.
Next is the budget. I'd like to indulge the board for just a minute before we go right to it. Before we approve this General Appropriations Act, I would like to make a motion to make a slight change in the budget that we previously approved. And that change is to delete the capital improvement for Navinoy Trail and move that money to the Roads and Bridges Cost Center.
What page is that on, please?
Okay, so it's Department 901, which is on page 7 of the general fund budget. And we had a large amount of money under roads and bridges, but because we got surprised with a early finish, that's gonna be paid out of this year's money, not next year's money.
Gotcha.
So I would like to move that to roads and bridges. That way, next year, or this year, somebody comes, wants an SAD, we have the money to pitch in. That's the only motion I'm making as to changing anything we previously decided at our workshop.
I support that.
Okay, support by Kim
Pearson?
Pearson. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, are we changing the overall budget, or are we just moving money within the budget?
Just within the budget, but whatever was on that capital improvement line went right over to roads and bridges. There's no increase. In fact, we are $791 to the good on this balanced budget.
Hallelujah.
So the motion is to move, and I'll get the dollar amount later. What's the dollar amount again? Say that one more time.
I'd have to get it, Jay.
Jan's pretty quick, so she'll figure it out.
I'm just gonna move the CIP funding from roads and bridges over to the Roads and Bridges Cost Center. Because the CIP has already been completed and funded this year.
What's in
I
this?
might as well look it up now, because I have to.
Yep. It should be in the motion. Or in the street.
Chris, you remember?
No, I don't.
While you're doing that, who seconded this motion? I didn't-
Chris did, no, Kim did.
Kim.
All right, Chris's
We
name
can
was
take
Ted
a
Lapp.
slight recess and I can go get it.
It should be in the package.
We can pause for a minute.
It was approximately 50,
Johnson?
it was approximately 58.
Is this right?
Excuse me.
It was approximately 58.
It doesn't become approximately after I write it down.
Or we make the change and we can.
Can we take a 2-minute recess? 2-minute recess, please. Second,
I'll second that.
just stay at your seats, okay?
That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay. Okay, we're back in session. It's $55,608.
And where is that in the budget now?
I moved $55,608 to roads and bridges.
Yes, but from where?
From right here, CIP.
So the CIP has a bunch of pieces.
No, but this is old.
Yep.
This is news. When we passed it, we had $55,608 here for Navino.
Under roads and bridges. And, oh, I see what you're saying.
Right, so instead of,
Instead of putting it in
And
CIP
it's
for
just-
next year, we're gonna put it in roads and bridges this year.
cost center, and
But that's two different budgets.
no, it's a general fund budget. It's a different cost center.
I'm
CIP.
sorry. I thought I heard you say we're taking it out of next year's CIP budget for roads and bridges and putting it in this year's.
No, we already put the money in during the budget adjustment earlier this year.
Okay, now I'm clear.
Sorry,
Thanks.
I'm not a whiz.
So just.
That's fine.
Make it clear.
Sometimes I'm not either.
So we took $55,608 from CIP roads and bridges and put it in the regular roads and bridges cost center.
Okay, got it.
Because we're not gonna do the CIP next year. We're gonna do it. Now it makes.
Yeah, that's the problem when you have a fiscal year ends in the middle of the year.
Okay,
Any other
I
discussion?
want to get it right, I want to get it publicly right.
Thank you, Jay.
Go.
No, I have no discussion.
Okay,
Jay, can you read the motion again, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. We're going to, the motion is to move $55,608 from the CIP Roads and Bridges account to the Roads and Bridges Cost Center in the
general fund.
general fund, yeah.
For the fiscal year ending 6/30/2025.
Yeah.
Just for clarity.
Fiscal year ending 2025. Yep. So that was, motion was made by Kramer, Kim seconded, and now we're gonna vote on it. Do we need to have a roll call, or we're gonna?
No, I think it's fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, zero.
Okay, General Appropriations Act resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the Budget Appropriation Act as submitted, in the board packet for fiscal year
24-25.
24-25.
I'll second that.
2024, 2025.
Pardon?
I said 2024, 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Reed's my yes. Vance,
Yes.
Kim Pearson,
Yes,
Bob Kramer,
Yes.
Jan Dillahane.
Yes,
That's 5 yeas.
You made the motion, Jay?
Yes.
Seconded by Kim.
No, Janet.
Jenna Vance.
Vance.
Okay. Thank you all. Next is the 6-year capital improvement plan. I'd like to make a motion to approve it as written but unfunded.
I'll second that.
Jay seconds, discussion. The reason I think we ought to wait on some of this is until we get our reimbursements from EPA, USDA.
Good idea.
We got a county parks bathroom grant, and that's ongoing, so that's not affected. So that would be the only one not affected. The chief picked up his new police car today, so we're good.
So do we have any discussion on this?
Not for me.
I just did spot something now. Good. You see where it says police department priority needed? Where it says training room? That was already funded, right? By the grant.
It's not funded yet, but it's included.
No, we got an award
Well, right,
of 200 grand.
correct. And it is part of that.
Okay, so
And he turned again his vehicle.
Well, that can-
It
that-
says we're starting in 24.
But we as a board, haven't voted on that grant being approved yet.
I think we
Well, I
did.
think you have.
I think we did.
I think you have.
That was a while back.
But the thing of it is, if we leave that there, then it'll already be funded, and that's one thing they can check off the list. Because it won't be paid for until 2025.
Since we've already got that grant, it was in the grant, the grant was approved, I think we should scratch training off of it altogether.
What's the dollar amount?
$24,000.
Oh, that's definitely in the grant.
And until it's done, I would leave it on the list so nobody forgets why it's there.
Okay,
But that's just.
okay, so we'll leave it all alone.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion passes. Ordinance changes. I asked office staff and then Chief Temple, now that we've had 3 or 4 years under the recently revised ordinances on tall grass and blight ordinances. And Chief Temple has recommended the changes in your packet. One was tall grass, 6 inches to 8 inches because of the particular kind of weeds we got. They did some research. A lot of other communities do 10 inches. And also he wants to add the following: that the township mows a property, the township shall bill of the property owner $250 for the first hour, $25 for each hour after, for each employee for mowing. And
There's a typo there, so.
yeah, I got it. And he coordinated that with Doug.
Okay.
In, he added vessels and trailers in 9020. And in 9022, he wanted unregistered vehicles added to the heading and to the first paragraph in 9022. So very minor, but makes it easy for him to do his job easier.
What exactly is a trailer? I mean, that runs the gamut between a little utility trailer.
Yep.
All the way up to a
Same.
travel trailer.
Anything with a permanent trailer license on
Yeah, it defines it in 9020, which would normally be registered to operate on state highway or public waters.
Okay, just for example, on the trailer issue,
Sorry?
just for an example on the trailer issue for discussion. We have at our farm, that's what we call it, 2 or 3 utility trailers never go on the road, never go on it. We use them around the farm to collect leaves, to haul out wood or stumps or something like that that we cleared to go put out in our burn pile. They never go on the road, ever.
But it says normally be registered to operate on state.
How would
highways.
you know what would be normally?
Because you're not using it on a public road.
It has lights, it has,
Well, ours has got lights on, but that doesn't mean we put them on the road. In the last 30 years I've lived there, we've never put one on the road.
all this is they're capable of being put on the road, doesn't say you would put them on the road.
But if it's capable of being put on the road, does that mean we're going to get cited for blight because we have a farm trailer? That's what I'm asking. I mean, I think it's a little broad. I think you're gonna run into trouble there.
I didn't write it.
I know, but I'm just saying, I think if we pass it, I think we're gonna run into trouble there because there's a lot of people that have little trailers that don't go on the road. Or if they put it on the road, then they have a permanent plate that they will put on it temporarily, just to put on the road for a day, and then it goes, they take it off. I mean, there's a lot of that around here, and I think that would get us into trouble unless we're more specific about if it's capable to be on the road. Most trailers are capable of being put on the road, but whether you do it or not, that's a whole different issue. And I think that would get us into some trouble with the people, because I would fight that. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 trailers in the back up behind the big barn. They're different sizes for different purposes. I use them around
Would you
there all the
consider
time.
that farm equipment?
I could, but then someone else could say it's a trailer, which it is a trailer. So then I'm going to court to try and figure that out, and so it's all,
But you would not normally register that to operate on a pump.
I could.
No, but you would not normally register that to operate on a state highway.
So how would you, if you were going to give that ticket for blight on this unregistered trailer, how would the person that's giving the citation know the difference between normally doing it or not normally doing it?
You gotta ask them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we would get into some trouble there legally because it's really too broad of a situation. I mean, I've got a boat trailer out there that I put the canoe on sometimes, and sometimes I put the license plate on it, and sometimes I don't, because we don't move it around that much. Yeah, it's not on there all the time.
If we started issuing tickets for boat trailers that people keep in their yards,
That would have a
Gordon had
plate
to
on
hire
it.
10 more people.
Yeah, I think that's just too broad, and I think that it's
Do you wanna,
just too
we can
much
send
of
it
a-
back to them if the board wants to.
Yeah,
Say,
I would
Be
wait.
more specific.
Either that or just delete the trailer thing altogether. That's what I would be in favor of.
We made the motion, we didn't make the motion.
But I think that the issue is that, you know, if you've got 3 cars out there with no licenses and 2 trailers with no licenses and a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff sitting in your front yard and your neighbors are tired of it and
It looks like a junkyard.
it looks like a junkyard, the fact that you don't have a plate on those things is what's going to keep, it is gonna get that all wrapped up into one nice package. If I have a boat trailer and somebody's complaining about it and it doesn't have a plate on it, depending on how much plate costs, how much time I have, I might go get a plate, but that's not your situation, I understand that.
I don't mind the vessel thing. I just have a problem with the trailer thing.
Well, and I don't wanna write an ordinance that covers your property and not
Well, yeah,
necessarily
I'm
somebody
just,
else's.
I'm just giving an example, that I don't think I'm the only one out there that has utility trailers, farm trailers, yard trailers. I mean, a trailer that's like 4 foot by 4 foot. It's very small, but yet it's a trailer. And I don't put it on the road, so I don't license it. But
In order to move things along here, I'm gonna interrupt and say, is there a motion for this item? We have not made a motion yet.
I move to table.
I second that.
We move to table.
All in favor?
That, if we're gonna say table, I mean,
Get clarification.
is it gonna be on the next?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Thank you.
I'll say move to table and clarify.
Well, what about if we just, take that part out of it and vote on the rest of it?
We'll let Chief Temple,
These are interconnected, so.
yeah, and it's easier to publish it in the paper all at once.
Okay.
So, we'll clarify that with Chief Temple.
So that was Kramer moved,
Right.
who seconded?
Dan second.
All right.
Okay, the next item, we said all in favor, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Meeting dates. I just went through the calendar, put some possible meeting dates on there. It's up to you what you want to do.
I'll make a motion. I move to schedule board meetings on the first Tuesday of each month at 7 PM, with exceptions being July, last Thursday in June for the July meeting, and election, second Tuesday of the month.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I'm gonna put it out there, even though we're not gonna consider it tonight, but, the first Tuesday of the month,
It's horrible.
it does make it very difficult for us to give the appropriate data for finances. And it would be so much easier if it were the second Tuesday.
Well, let's change it to the second.
Yeah, we had this discussion last year.
Yep.
And a lot of us wanted to do it. I don't have a problem with it, personally.
Well, then I make a motion that we change it to the second Tuesday.
So then Jay would have to, either rescind his motion or
I thought we
change
were
his
just
motion.
discussing it.
Well, we're in discussion now, so.
Yeah, but she can't make a motion when there's one on the floor already.
And I'll rescind my motion.
So now you can make a motion.
I make a motion that we change the meeting dates to the second Tuesday of the month.
You need a second.
I'll support it. Amen.
Second Tuesday.
The new dates, if that motion passes, would be September 10th, October 8th, November 12th,
No.
November would stay the same.
November 12th.
In 25, it's September 9th.
No, this year, 2024 would be our first one for the,
Oh, you're going fiscal. Okay, sorry.
It'll be the second Tuesday. Are there any need of exceptions?
I don't see any.
Only in June.
June.
Well,
The only exception would be June 26th.
And I would propose we
Well-
keep that one.
Yeah, because of the budget.
I'm
right.
hopeful that we can get the budget done before the
13th.
Well, we can pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right.
but I don't think we're
Because otherwise we're going all the way to July
too
8th.
much.
So, yeah, got it.
14th. Eight. Okay, so the new dates would be August 13th, September 10th, October 8th, November 12th, December 10th, January 14th, February 11th, March 11th, April 8th, May 13th, June 10th, and June 26th, 2025.
Yes, sir.
So the only exception is June
June 26th.
26th.
So who seconded?
I do.
Jan,
Jan did.
Kim
and-
made
I made
the
the
motion, Jan second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Public comment, please. Step right up. Thank you for coming.
First thing about your blight ordinance, if you guys do unregistered vehicles, there's a lot of us that have off-road stock car racing, we got mud trucks, we have a lot of that stuff, so you're gonna have a lot of issues with your unregistered vehicle thing. That's a horrible idea. There's a lot of people that have a lot of racing type, off-road type vehicles around here. Secondly, the chamber was against, which you guys already passed, it doesn't matter, but the chamber was against your redevelopment district because we just wanted some clarification on just minor stuff. Say the business that you're gonna do has to have like 5 jobs or just something. Like we just didn't want the broad, we don't want our stamp of approval on just, we're gonna do this for Mr. Gateway, whoever he is, just one guy. We're doing this whole thing for one guy right now. We just wanted clarification on what was gonna be the rules to it, or there's gotta be some way you can just, which doesn't matter now, you're already passed, you can do what you want, it seems like around here, but, that was our motion, just wanted clarification, we weren't against doing it, we just wanted like boundaries for it, which I know there's boundaries you can put on those things.
Could I get your name?
Jim Dubois, I own the Napa store,
Okay,
I also-
Jim Dewitt. How do you spell your last name?
Dubois.
Ubois. Thank you.
And there's plenty of people in this town that spend lots of money building businesses. We just spent $700,000 without no abatement. And if you have the money to buy a motel and tear it down to build something else, you don't need a tax abatement. Pay your tax like everybody else does. Do it fair. I mean, I just don't agree with that. I didn't come asking for a handout. I just went to work 6 days a week and did it myself. And if they don't want to do that, well, I guess go someplace else. But if you got the money to buy the places on the river and buy these other, you have the money to do the stuff. I think that's a unfair advantage to these people just to make more money, my own personal opinion. I make my own, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Public comments? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Trudy Maves. My comment is, perhaps Jan can help answer these. The bank accounts have not been reconciled, and they've not been reconciled since 2022. The property taxes were forecasted to be just over $285,000, excuse me, and only $5,017.79 has been receipted into the books. The summer tax reimbursement, we forecasted $9,200. Nothing has been receipted into the books. The state shared revenues, I believe this is the sales and use tax. We forecasted that just over $337,000, and we have receipted in just over $177,000. And those state shared tax revenues are automatically deposited every 2 months into our bank accounts. We are short revenues by $449,000 in the general fund. The expenditures for the general fund exceed revenues by just over $111,000. And there is an additional $17,000 in bills that were approved to be paid out of the general fund per the invoice register. The fire protection fund is short, $7,149.24. Special assessments, the roads Prospect, Chippewa Beach, Wabi, show a negative $163,000. That's money that is collected from the people that were assessed. I'm wondering what happened there. The sewer department was not included in this month's report. Again, I'm just wondering what happened there. The treasurer's report shows that there's still just over $421,000 in the tax account. This is the 3rd month in a row. It is supposed to be cleared out. And in fact, when I went back to last year, there was only $684.10. Maybe we can address that next month.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment?
One that said go somewhere else.
You really said that.
I recognize and respect Mr. Whitener's opinion as a business owner and his prior real estate experience, which is similar to my own. I can understand the concern, to wit, what is the downside? We're saving the township money, we're minimizing costs, and we're preventing duplication. Then we have a very troubling 501c4 campaign ad that states, and I quote, "Continue the good fight to stop the takeover of Tuscarora Township by outsiders." That's a quote. And it's despicable. It is insulting. It is personally insulting. Now we have a letter from the chamber delivered 3 hours before this meeting that basically says, "Closed for business, and outsiders now welcome." Really? Is this really the message we want to be sending?
Public comment. Any more public comment?
Okay, public comment is closed. Board comment.
Go first. Whoever wants to go first.
Thanks, Tom. I've heard that there's been some grumbling as we started opening the accounts to keep the USDA in order to close the loan on July 10th. So we needed 2 accounts for the construction of phase 1 and the construction of phase 2, and 2 accounts for the RR&I for each of those phases. Keeping in mind that we have accounts at C&D and we have accounts at Awaken. We have worked with PNC Bank. They have bent over backwards to provide us with good service. And so I chose to ask the board to authorize me to open these accounts at PNC. That gives, if you're investing money, one of the things that you'll hear early on and frequently is diversification. We have 3 banks in town. We're already doing business with 2. I learned from my time working for a law firm that having banking relationships is an important thing as an ongoing concern. And you can't wait until you need the bank to develop those relationships. So, and then the last item in that regard is in 2020, under concentrations of credit risk, we had $1.9 million of unsecured funds in the bank. In 2022, we had 2.8 million, and in 2023, we had 2.3 million of uninsured funds. Seeing as this project in total is going to be $14 million, there's no, and depending on the timing of the money coming in and the money going out, we run the risk of jumping that money up even higher, but we certainly guarantee it if we stay with C&D or Awaken for either of those funds. So I'm sorry people are unhappy. It's the way it works. PNC has come to the office to take care of us. So we don't have that in either of the other banking relationships. If we become unhappy with the service we get from PNC or something else goes south, we can easily move the money back. So there's that. I would like to remind people who are in the DDA that you get a special tax incremental funding in an overlay of money that comes from the county. So I am always curious about certain people getting a special deal who want to keep other people from getting a deal. I'm not in favor of abating sewers, but I'm also not in favor of keeping the school or the library or the police from getting additional funding, especially if it turns a prime piece of real estate on the river that hundreds of people see every year from being developed. And if you're going to go through MEDC funding, you have to know that there is, I don't necessarily want to see your personal finances, but you're not going to do that if you don't have the personal finances or you're not willing to open up your own personal books. And most business owners don't have to do that. They just run their business. We're continuing to work with ProNexus to clear up some of this, the stuff that's going on in the accounting system. And I will be happy to say more on that next month. That's all I have.
All right, let me start with a couple things. We are, again, planning for the next election. Actually, we're working the next election. That's August 6th. That'll be a primary. We've sent out 388 applications. This will be the last time that applications get sent out to voters. We sent out a letter with the applications to those that have them still. Requested a permanent ballot application that they have a choice going forward. They can either sign up for a permanent ballot, or they can decide that they don't want a permanent ballot, and if and when they want to vote with a AUV or absentee voting ballot, that they would come in and pursue an application and then fill one out and get a ballot. So that's essentially what it says in the note. Why are we doing that? Because the laws have changed. And we do not have, and then when you have a permanent ballot, please be advised that you will get a ballot for each and every election for which you're eligible to vote. There is no turning it on and off. So you will always get a permanent ballot. So again, that's part of the law. It's not the clerk's preferences. I'm just here to send a message out that that's what's happening. We did send out, or are in the process of sending out between today and tomorrow, the permanent ballots, which are probably totaling about 520. And I want to make a mention on the permanent ballots that it's a primary ballot. And with that, there'll be a slip that comes with it, instructions. Please read this slip, and then this pertains to people voting on election day as well on August 6th. We're going to try and minimize and protect people's votes by getting them to read this. It's a partisan section. There's two party sections. You can only vote for one or the other. You cannot split your ticket on a primary ballot. So I'm just mentioning it here in the hopes that it reaches more people than saying nothing. It will be in the packet that you receive with an application. It'll be in the packet you receive with a permanent ballot. It'll be in the election in the precinct as well. We're just hoping people read that so we don't have to spoil the ballots. And if it's an absentee ballot, I'm not sure how we'll deal with that. We could maybe not be able to count it. So it just complicates things. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was, previous clerk brought up the fact that when you reach 3,000 votes, this is about a year ago, that you can then ask the board to create a resolution to add 2 more trustees. And what that did is kind of instill a little bit of, well, are we really at 3,000 plus? We were told we were at 3,008 plus 3 on that election day, 3,011. So we started going through looking at the QVF, the qualified voter file, and found out that just for that election alone that we had, 21 voters who had been deceased, some as many as 25 years prior to that election date. Many, within a decade of that election date. So we basically have cleaned that part up. We've also got about 13 voters, making a total of 34 voters that had moved on. And we're currently in the process of continuing to clean up. We've had about 171 verified residencies and then 30 that are in the challenge state. Now, what I'm discussing here is all part of the process that they lay out for you from the Bureau of Elections. This isn't something that we're doing any differently than what they would propose. And we're using the systems to do that. I'm only mentioning it. There are some people out there that don't care about election integrity, and there are a lot of people out there that care a lot about election integrity. So I don't know which side of the fence you're on, but we're trying to clean up the database. That's all I have. Thank you.
That is extremely difficult work, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, by the way, I have help that tremendously professional help getting this work done. So thanks.
All right, real quick, my comments. Jay, I just want to thank you for leading your staff and getting this done. I know it's been going on for 8 months now, 9 months.
A year.
And what these ladies are doing for us is incredible. And I'm glad we're finally cleaning up the rolls. There's a real problem there that needed attention that was ignored, apparently. So I appreciate that. I think we've said enough on the commercial rehabilitation district. But I will tell you, I'm excited about it because MEDC is a tough nut to crack. And you really got to be able to prove that you have a gap before you're even eligible. And I would invite everyone to look at the MEDC application and what the underwriter requires. It's more difficult than applying for a USDA sewer loan. I am bothered about the 401c4 program. That's set up as a social organization. Basically, that's dark money. People that don't want you to know their name. They don't want you to know who paid for it. You can't go up like you have a PAC and get a list of donors. You can't do that. You can't go, you can go to a candidate's, you go up to the county and get the candidate's form and see who gave money to that candidate, because we all have to file them. But with the 401c4, that's just dark money. That's people from who knows where, here, Lansing, whatever, and to send a message that we don't want you here greatly upsets me. My family's been in this community in one way or another, not full time, since 1911. I guess I'm an outsider. How many people weren't born here that love it here? I guess you're an outsider. So I hope candidates will get their supporters in line and knock off the "you're not welcome here," because that's what it's saying. I think we had that done during the last a decade ago when a local business guy said, "I don't want you downstaters anymore." He's not in business anymore, is he? So in any event, I just want to thank the board for your help in doing all this, and the office staff, especially Chris and especially Ron. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I have something to say. I just wanted to say, I'm excited for the 4th of July. We've got a lot of great things happening in this small community, and between the sewers and the River to River project that we just passed and a lot of other irons in the fire. I think that it's going to give a really positive flow for the community. I just hope people remain positive. We have discussed this River to River thing for quite a while, like December, and there's been several presentations on it. And it makes me sad that today, all of a sudden, we just get bombarded with, some negativity on it. And are there your opinions? You're welcome to your opinions, but it would have been nice if you would have maybe came to the meeting prior or a couple meetings ago as well. And I just hope everyone has a safe 4th, and look forward to seeing the progress in town, and just hope everyone remains positive.
What? I have one more comment after you're done.
Okay.
I'm done.
You want to go ahead, Jay, and then I'll
I
finish
just,
up.
I'm trying to get the information out. I wanted to make sure people knew that Cindy Weimer was really the person who took this whole project on, obviously with my support and guidance. And then that was followed up by Penny Pasno and then Amy Grandy. So just tremendous women working hard to get this done. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think it's great that you spearheaded it and got the roles cleaned up after us being accused that there were more people. So by the previous clerk. So I appreciate you taking that on responsibility. That's 20 deceased people is a lot.
Janet?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everybody that July 5th, a week from tomorrow, is our 4th of July. Yeah, summer's rolling fast here. We're going right into 4th of July. I talked to the project manager, Austin, that's from Great Lakes Fireworks. They're from West Branch. I talked to him today, and we've been communicating back and forth. he said that not only have they donated some in-kind fireworks for our project in memory of one of the workers' moms who was from Afton. And they always used our fireworks as a family event. So they've donated some in-kind fireworks to make it better. But we have increased the show from a 23-minute show to 30 minutes and 38 seconds. So that's a big jump. And
18,
pardon me?
18 minutes.
Okay, that's a big jump anyway from where we were. And we're having a DJ before the fireworks start for our community beach party. And that was a big hit last year. We have better speakers this year, so hopefully more people will be able to hear it around the community as well. And they're going to be playing patriotic music during the show. And I thought it just made it just more emotional. And I just love the patriotic music during it because it's just the booms and the music all kind of sync together. It was great. So everybody have a safe and happy summer. And we'll hope to see you all on the 5th of July. 4th is the community parade. The 5th is the fireworks rain date, just in case. July 7th, that would be Sunday, okay? So that's where we're going, but we'll get it out on July 5th.
Thanks to the chamber for taking the 4th of July parade. A motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I work.
all in favor, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming.